Where is the most normal place you have encountered a celebrity? I used to live in New York City, so you see random people trying to keep a low profile on the street all the time. But my favorite story belongs to one of my friends who tends to be pretty clueless about pop culture. She went to a neighboring friend's party and someone at the party ended up crashing on the couch, and all three of them went to brunch the next day. While they were at lunch, people kept coming up to the window and taking pictures. So finally she went off on how she knows the restaurant was renovated recently, but it's not that nice. Why do so many people want to take pictures of it? Turns out the dude who crashed on the couch was Jake Gyllenhaal. Edit. Since people seem to enjoy this story, I'll add in another one. This is all highly ironic, because my friend worked as a drummer in the house band for a talk show in this same era. It was a running joke on production that she never had any idea who the guests were, so they would have her give all the guests nicknames. I remember her trying to describe the guests on one of the shows to me because she still didn't know who they were, but she had named one of them Muscles and one of the Cap because one of them was strong and one was wearing a hat. I didn't say these were good names, and Cap was a bit perturbed that the other guy got a nickname like Muscles and he was simply relegated to Cap. It turned out she was talking about Chris Hemsworth and Zac Efron. Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie came through my drive-thru at Sonic about 7 years ago. Transaction was completely normal, except they were really smiley. I finally actually looked at them and said, "Anyone ever tell you? Wait, you are them, aren't you?" They nodded, told me to have a nice day, and pulled away. I think they were relieved that it wasn't a big scene. My dad is just chilling in an airport, waiting for his flight back home from work in Houston. He sits down in his seat, and this big dude sits down next to him. Turns to look at the guy. My dad was looking out the window as the guy sat down, and the guy was actually Dwayne Johnson. He had just finished up work in Houston, and he was on his way to New York, I believe. My dad was friends in college with this guy, named Mike, who went on to be a referee in a lot of WWE matches. Dwayne knew him, and they actually got to know each other. I have his autograph on my wall right now. If you have made it this far into the video, you are legally obliged to subscribe. In San Francisco, I saw Robin Williams at a small store that sold Japanese anime toys and stuff like that. When I was a kid, I saw Robin Williams in an elevator in San Francisco. I knew who he was from Mrs. Doubtfire and Aladdin and stuff. Loudly I said to my mom, "That's Robin Williams." My mom was mortified and said, "He lives here, don't stare." And I said, "In the elevator?" I was dead serious and confused. Robin Williams laughed, then I laughed. He stuck his tongue out at me and smiled. He got out of the elevator. I'll never forget that. Not famous, I guess, but I met Filthy Frank outside a McDonald's once. Went to see a show at smaller theater in Chicago and had David Schwimmer sitting directly behind me. Could not concentrate on the stage at all. Was completely focused on Ross's laugh. I work at a tiny movie theater in Dallas, and my manager told me a story. One night, Weird Al randomly came in and went to the bar that we have. He came out of the bar and into the theater side to use the restroom. He asked my manager where the restroom was and pointed him down the hall. Now, in that hall, you have to pass a janitor's closet before you get to the men's room, and as Weird Al walked down the hallway, he opened the janitor's closet door, looked inside for a second, looked back at my manager, gave an enthusiastic thumbs up, and proceeded to act like he was taking a piss in the closet. I saw Pam from The Office at a McDonald's in Manhattan. Definitely won't see her in a Chili's. Ran into Harrison Ford at a car dealership in Pocatello, Idaho back in the early 90s. Len, guess what car brand he was buying? I was sitting down in an airport restaurant in California, and Ice Cube casually sat down 2 seats away from me. I was petrified with fear and couldn't finish my entree. Served jury duty with Steve Carell. He was great. Talked to him for a little bit while waiting outside a courtroom. The thing that sucked was when we went to lunch, I saw paparazzi chasing him as he tried to get something to eat. Just wanted to be a normal guy doing his civic duty. Chuck Norris Lowe's hardware store. I didn't bother him, but he was in checkout line. Some dude started filming him on his phone and like whispering commentary into his phone. Chuck Norris was clearly irritated, but didn't say anything to the guy directly. I was in a shitty convenience store in a student-infested neighborhood next to my university buying mix for a party I was heading to, and I recognized the guy in front of me in line buying milk. It was Chris Hadfield, the astronaut. I didn't say anything at first and ran out after making my purchase to tell my boyfriend, and as I was commander, Hadfield started walking down the street towards us. My boyfriend asked him for a photo, and he was so nice and took one with both of us. I've actually read his book, so I was really pumped. Edit. Here is the pic, don't mind me, I was a little tipsy. James Franco had just left the cafe I worked at, right when I walked in to get my paycheck. I left my dog tied up outside at a bench by a fence, and came back out to see him petting her. He was a nice guy. I was really surprised. Tom Hanks at Best Buy. He was in line in front of me with a cart full, all by himself. I was only buying a bottle of water because they didn't have what I was looking for. I just blurted out Forrest Gump is my favorite movie like a creep, and he turned around and said that was my favorite movie to make. I'm glad you love it. He then chatted with me while about movies as we stood in line. When it was his turn to check out, while they were ringing up his stuff, he said, "Oh, let me get that water for you," and paid for my water. He kept talking to me, and then we walked out, and he said, "Nice talking to you. You're a very nice young lady, and always remember, life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get," in his Forrest Gump voice. It was the best thing ever. I met George H.W. Bush at my school one day back in 1992. He was picking up his granddaughter. Was at an arcade-themed bar in Atlanta, a little buzzed already, when I looked to my left and saw Owen Wilson frustrated at a pinball machine. Didn't register automatically with me who he was until a doofus friend of mine attempted to get a selfie with him without asking first. Owen Wilson was, understandably, annoyed at this. Sorry, Owen Wilson. I drove Dave Chappelle's Lexus SUV back to a bonfire we were having just outside Yellow Springs once. It was around 99, and his 100 disc changer was the best thing ever. He said, "We can use my car for music, but I ain't trying to drive that motherfucker back here." I volunteered immediately. Nice guy. Would do again. Walked by a gas station. Saw Donald Glover pumping gas. Said what's up to him. Got a photo. Said bye. Nice guy. Met Keanu Reeves at a bodega in the West Village. This was around that sad Keanu / meme of him eating a sandwich on that bench time. He was tossing the Gatorade he was going to buy and dropped it and picked it up. Didn't pay much attention until then, which is when he got in line behind us, me and the people I was with at the time. I turned to my friend and said, "Fuck, this guy looks just like Keanu Reeves," and he's like, "Yay, cuz that's Keanu Reeves." Keanu says, "Hey, how's it going? Fun times." Also did not know Keanu was that tall until then. This past weekend I was in a movie theater in Nashville and walked past Emma Roberts and Evan Peters from American Horror Story as my movie got out. She used the bathroom with me, and I had to awkwardly hold the door for her, and then proceeded to have a panic attack in the stall next to her. I'm a fan, haha. 25 years ago I drove a cab while in college. Picked up Paul McCartney. It was near my mother's birthday and I called her, and he sung her happy birthday. Edit. He got in the cab and asked to be taken to the stadium. He was doing a show there that night. I'm looking at him going, I know this guy. I was 23 at the time. Never expected a celeb in my cab in Cincinnati. When I realized who he was, I asked to be sure, and he laughed. I mentioned my mom was a huge fan and asked him if he would do it. He asked which birthday song I wanted him to sing, his or the other one. I chose the other one. I ran into Jamie Foxx at a Walmart in Green Valley, Arizona on Thanksgiving Day, 2010. I asked as discreetly as possible if I could shake his hand, and he was cool. He got swarmed shortly thereafter and left. Funny part, I was a Mormon missionary at the time. White shirt, tie, name tag and everything, haha. My companion at that time happened to be black, and when Jamie saw him, he said, "Oh shit, they got a brother." Pretty hilarious for us, haha. Neil Patrick Harris frequently visited the movie theater I worked at in Metro Detroit. I was unaware his significant other, David Burtka, was a graduate of my high school. It really normalized celebrity status in my eyes to know he was in Plymouth/Canton. Michigan visiting his in-laws over holidays, and popping out to catch a film for a night out with them. No limousine or entourage or anything, just a movie night at the local theater like anyone else. Seems obvious that a celeb would do this, they are just people after all, but it was kinda cool that we'd see him every so often like our other regulars.